Now we come to the questions. All right, so I think the first slide is very interesting. That most people they want to know the reason that caused earthquake. So they really want to know this one. So can you explain after you have studied this lesson? So what causes an earthquake?
Thank you for your question. The things that created an earthquake is the Earth's surface. When two of the land on the Earth's surface they meet, they will create the earthquakes. And a large movement can cause a big one, and a small movement can cause a small earthquake. That's all.
Okay, then since the beginning of the time, what can people measure the earthquake?
Thank you for the question. At the beginning of the time, people can I get your question again?
Earthquake happen in the world, since the past. Then how can people measure the earthquake strength?
Thank you for your question. From the beginning, the earthquake is already happened, but from the very far time, there was nothing to measure about the earthquakes. But in 1945, scientists started using the Richter scale to measure the earthquakes.
Okay.
Destructive earthquakes measured 6.5 on the Richter scale.
All right. Yeah. And then how can people know the earthquake, or how can scientists predict the earthquake? Usually we can see that scientists or the governments, they told people to move from place to place or from the earthquake zone. But how can the government know about this?
Question. One way to predict the earthquakes is to look at the Earth's surface, like a sudden drop of water. And we can also look at the animal, like the chicken, the fish, the snake, and also the other animal if they acted strangely. That's all.
Okay. Earthquake, it hits everywhere on the earth, or where do earthquakes hit on the earth?
Thank you for your question. The earthquake is not just gathered everywhere on the Earth's surface. Like it has a place to happen. Usually, an earthquake happens in the west coast, north and south of America, near the Mediterranean Sea, along the Pacific coast of Asia.
Okay, yeah. And if people want to save a little money caused by an earthquake, then what subjects or what majors should they study?
Thank you for the question. To save money and also to save lives when an earthquake happens is to build a newer building.
I just want to know the subject that people should learn at the university. So what kinds of subjects they learn, so that they can predict the earthquake, they know about the earthquake, and then they can save people's lives. So what subjects?
Thank you for the question. They study about the seismic waves.
Yeah. And what do you call that subject?
Seismology.
Yes, correct. Yeah, it's seismology. Okay, thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mengchheang. I'm 12 years old. I'm studying English at Speak Up Online. Today, I'm going to present about earthquakes. What causes earthquakes? The outer layer of the earth is constantly moving. When two of the pieces meet, an earthquake happens. A large movement can create a violent earthquake, while a small movement can cause a mild one. There are thousands of earthquakes, but most of them are very small. The place where an earthquake begins is called the epicenter. When an earthquake happens, the vibration moves outwards from the radar. This rolling vibration is called seismic waves. Usually, an earthquake is only strong enough to damage near its epicenter. When the epicenter of the earthquake is under the water, they can create huge sea waves as tall as 15 meters. These waves travel several hours across the ocean, rushing toward land. They destroy the island, the small island, and the ship along their path. When they hit land, they flood coastal areas far away from the epicenter. In 1968, a sea wave reached 4.5 kilometers inland in Peru. After an earthquake happens, people could die from the lack of food, water, and electricity. The amount of destruction depends on where it happens, what time did it happen, how strong is it. It also depends on type of buildings, the soil conditions, and the size of the population. Of the thousands of earthquakes, only 1 in 500 earthquakes can cause damage. In 1556, an earthquake in northern China killed 830,000 people, the most in history. At the time, there was nothing to measure the earthquakes. In 1935, scientists started using the Richter scale. A fiercely destructive earthquake measures 6.5 or higher on the Richter scale. How can scientists predict earthquakes? Earthquakes are not just scattered everywhere on the pieces of the earth. For example, earthquakes usually happen on the west coast, north and south of America, near the Mediterranean Sea, along the Pacific coast of Asia. One way to predict earthquakes is to look at the Earth's surface. Some people say that animals can predict the earthquakes. Before earthquakes happen, they see chicken jumping out of the tree, fish jumping out of the water, snake leaving their holes, and other animals acting strangely. On February 4, 1925, scientists predicted that an earthquake will happen in China. They told people to leave the cities. More than 1 million people were surrounded in countryside into safety. That afternoon, the earthquakes rolled and shook. In seconds, 90% of the buildings in Haicheng collapsed. The decision to tell the people to leave the city saved 10,000 lives. However, more than a year later, on July 28, 1926, the scientists were not very lucky. East of Beijing, the Chinese scientists were discussing a possible earthquake. During their meeting, the biggest earthquakes in modern time hit. Estimate of deaths are 250,000 to 695,000. The earthquakes measured 7.9 in a Richter scale. In late 1984, a strong earthquake happened in Nevada del Ruiz volcano in Colombia. On November 14, 1985, the volcano erupted. A nearby river is covered in a sea of mud that covered 4 towns, and more than 2,100 people were killed. This combination of an earthquake and volcano eruption is not a unique event. In fact, it is not unusual for an earthquake to happen while the volcano also erupted at the same time. Mexico City has frequent earthquakes. An earthquake happened there on September 19, 1985. It measured 8.1 on the Richter scale. It killed 7,000 people. Most victims died because buildings fell on them. San Francisco, California also has frequent earthquakes. However, newer buildings were built to be safe in earthquakes. When an earthquake happened, it measured 7.1 on Richter scale in Northern California on October 17, 1989. Only 67 people were killed. The earthquakes happened in the afternoon when the worker was driving home from work. There were huge traffic on the freeways and bridges. Buried under the layers of the Oakland freeway, people were crushed in their flattened car. Explosion sounds like thunder as electricity is losing. Huge clouds are forming because of the black dust, water mixing with the gas, creating more explosions. Emergency workers had to cope with medical equipment. Everyone works together to save the survivors. The next day, a terrible news happened. The victims could not find their houses and cars. Even their streets, boats are destroyed. There's only the debris of the sea. There was no water. There was only the smell of the garbage floated in the sea. Losses and property lead to millions of dollars. Seismology is the study of earthquakes. A seismologist is the people who observe earthquakes. Seismologists have given us valuable knowledge about the earthquakes. The Earth's natural activity on the ground is creating energy in the form of heat. Geothermal is mean the Earth's heat. If seismologists could predict earthquakes, they could save about 20,000 people. Humans can control many things about nature, but people could not control the earthquakes. That's all. Thank you for listening to my speaking.
Okay, good job. Huh?